the Toronto Blue Jays have found their next superstar. And while Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Bichette, and all the major league players are starting to pick it up and the Jays are absolutely rolling, there is one player that the Jays have that is not only shocking everyone, but is going to be huge for the Toronto Blue Jays' future. We're going to break down exactly who it is and discuss what it means going forward, as well as break down some other updates following a fantastic win yesterday afternoon against the Atlanta Braves. So a ton to go over today, but before we get into it, if you're part of the 71% who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Jays content. Your guys' support has been unbelievable, and thank you guys for that. Ladies and gentlemen, the Jays have an off day, and it's going to be an interesting series coming up rest of the month. This is the toughest month of the season. The Jays are halfway through it, and they sit second in the AL East, seventh or so in the major leagues at 11-8. But we're going to be touching on and taking a step back from the major league team for a little bit until later in the video. And we're going to be talking about the next superstar for the Toronto Blue Jays. And of course, that is Alek Manoah. And he has been absolutely tearing the cover off of the baseball, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm talking not just tearing the cover off of the ball down in high A. He has been absolutely rolling offensively, defensively. He has soared up the Blue Jays prospect list, which we'll dive into as well. But let's look back to April 13th, which was 4 days ago. And of course, he has some other updates as well. Now, let's look at his stats. His slash line at the date of April 13th, and he's done better since then, was 310, 394, 586, which is good for 156 weighted runs created plus a 12% walk rate to a 21% K rate. It's a long season, but great to see him look comfortable immediately. Was not the case last year. And we look back there now a couple days after that to April 15th from Thomas Hall here. Alek Manoah has fit right in at AA, or at high A, Vancouver, where he's still holding a 156 WRC plus. He's hit multiple home runs, and this guy is tearing the cover off of the ball. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Alek Manoah, he is a very interesting player. He was the Jays' 20th, first round pick a couple of years ago. He had a very high ceiling at the time of the draft. We've covered him a little bit now over the past couple of years in the channel. He's a guy who absolutely is a high ceiling player. He is a shortstop, but man, oh man, this player, he has soared up the ranks. He started off, top 10 in the Jays system. And of course, we've been covering on the channel now for the past, 2 years, specifically the Jays pipeline. And you look at now, someone as highly touted as he is now as Alek Manoah, he has soared up the pipelines. He is 19 years old. Again, in 2023, he was drafted with the 20th overall pick in the first round. His ETA is not till 2028, which is about 3 years away, 2 seasons away. And let's look at his scouting grades. And this is updated from MLB.com. Hit 45, power 60, run 50, arm 60, and field 50. Now, if you're unfamiliar, these grades are from 20 to 80, 80 being elite, plus, of course, 50 being, average. And he is an overall 55 grade prospect, but he has a plus power tool, a plus arm, and a very solid field and run. He is going to be the Jays' future shortstop, depending on what happens with Bichette. Now, it's going to be interesting if they extend Bichette where Alek Manoah fits in, because he is absolutely pushing himself into the tier of, hey, we need to get this guy on the field in the next few years. Of course, he's still extremely young. They're not going to rush him. And in the way that he's been hitting, there is no need to rush Alek Manoah. But if you're unfamiliar, he started off last year a little bit cold in high A. And now you come back, he is not only, he had a little bit of at-bats in spring, struggled a little bit, but he still looked very solid, especially as a 19-year-old against major league pitching. And of course, AAA pitching, AA, single A. Everybody was pitching at spring training. But now you look at specifically his stats in high A, and he's absolutely crushing it. And he can be made a case to, get promoted sometime this season or sometime soon. And you can see this here. Every single scout, there is a ton now, whether it's MLB.com, whether it's MLB Pipeline, whether it's different reporters, individual scouts. You can see this here. They have Alek Manoah ranked as their 5th, most, interesting prospect of 2025. And he said, he's 19. He's in the A-plus ball. After being a consistent 230 hitter in the minors, Manoah is trying to break that cycle in high A with a 335. Of course, different, slash line depending on the tweet time. This was, of course, from April 16th. So this was yesterday. And of course, you look at it here. With 2 home runs in 9 games, he's flashing that 60 grade power early in 2025, and it'll be interesting to see how sustainable the 156 WRC plus turns out to be. And if he continues to hit with this power, that WRC plus, of course, is going to flood. And again, their future now, especially with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. locked up, is a little bit more clear. You have Dalton Varsho who's probably going to get extended. You have Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who is extended. You have Andres Gimenez, who's under contract for a handful of seasons. José Berríos, a couple more years. Of course, you have guys that are, in and out of the team. It's going to be interesting to see who actually sticks. Will Wagner's under contract. Of course, again, Jimenez under contract. Alejandro Kirk now under contract for 7 more years. It is going to be extremely interesting to see what actually happens with this specific team. Now, let's dive into some other things. Now, if you're unfamiliar with top 10 prospects, again, you have Trey Savage, number 2, Relvis 3, Tiedemann 4, Arjun Amala has jumped all the way to number 1, and he's by far the youngest prospect. Cal Stevens been absolutely tearing it up as well. We're going to have a video on him coming soon. But as it pertains to the top 10 prospects, he is the Jays' top prospect at this point. And of course, you look at the ETAs on the right, you have guys like Aroldis Martinez, ETAs this year. You have Trey Savage, ETAs next year. And then you have Arjun Amala, who is down the line. He was drafted as a 17-year-old. This is a guy who you pick in the draft as a high-ceiling player that you really be patient with. And boy, have the Jays has paid off so far, being the number 1 ranked prospect. Of course, Allen Roden there, number 5. He's going to stick around, I think, for most of the season, if not all the season. And then, of course, you have some of the other guys. But they've really started to replenish some of that farm system, even with Jake Bloss, who's been struggling mightily. But looking at his stats, right? This is Arjun Amala. In his Florida Complex League at age 17, he had an 820 OPS. 2024, he had a combined 807 OPS. But you look at it in the Florida Complex League and rookie ball, he had 1,000 OPS in 8 games. But then, of course, in Dunedin A-ball, he only had a 790 OPS. But he was still flashing that 16 home run tool, which, is good for about, in a prorated full season of 162 games, about a 32 home run pace, which is pretty good for a guy who at that point was 18. Now he's 19, and you look, he has a 985 OPS, good for a 333 average, already hit 2 home runs in just 9 games. He is on an absolute tear, and he truly is the Jays' next superstar on the pipeline. And whether or not he's going to be somebody who takes over Bo Bichette's spot, if Bo Bichette leaves, they, of course, have Andres Gimenez who can shift to short. But depending on how Arjun Amala grades out as a fielder as he continues to go up the levels, A-ball, A-plus ball, AA, AAA, all these different things, it's going to be interesting to see if he sticks at shortstop and what happens there. But also, the Jays now have a shortstop under contract in Andres Gimenez, who's playing second base. He can easily play shortstop. Bo Bichette is not under contract. It seems like the Jays are working to get a deal done there. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they do specifically with Arjun Amala, because man, oh man, has he tore the cover off of the baseball. And again, he's fit right in. And the average age for the Northwest League pitchers is 23.3 years old. He is 4 years younger than the average age, and he's putting up some numbers that are crooked. They are scary. And man, oh man, is it exciting to keep an eye on this guy, because when they drafted him, of course, we were making videos. I said, hey, he's going to be someone that we look down the line, could be one of the better draft picks in recent memory for this Toronto Blue Jays team. So let me know down below if you're excited about Arjun Amala, if you believe that he's the next superstar. He has superstar potential. That's why he's the number 1 ranked prospect in the Jays system. He is in the top 100 Blue Jays prospects, or top 100 MLB prospects. He is the real deal. Now, a couple things before we wrap up. Looking at the standings, following yesterday's win, the Yankees also won. So the Jays now are second in the AL East. But ladies and gentlemen, the Jays are 11-8. And of course, they have an off day today. We'll probably have another video for you later tonight. But regardless of that, they have an off day today. We're heading into this off day. We're halfway through the month now, a bit over halfway through the month, in what's the most brutal month of the year for the Jays. This is September. And you are coming out of this so far 3 games above 500. You're 7-3 at home, 4-5 on the road. Your pitching is fantastic. Chris Bassett has been fantastic. And the team is in a very good spot as you now look to start another series against, I believe, the Baltimore Orioles. It is, I believe, the Baltimore Orioles on Friday. Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a crazy, crazy next few games. And hopefully the Jays can keep it rolling. But enjoy the off day. Enjoy some other baseball, some non-stressful baseball. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. Cheers.